Hello everyone, welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. I'm glad you're here with me. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps this channel alive and lets me bring you stories that others are too nervous to touch. Now, let's get into it, because what unfolded a few days ago has left the industry whispering and Alina's world trembling in the quietest, most earth-shaking way. It happened behind a closed door, away from cameras and step-and-repeat backdrops, in a room where the curtains were pulled tight against a winter afternoon. Alp Navras asked for a meeting with Alina's mother. He arrived without an entourage, without a shadow of PR spin following him. Witnesses say he looked paler than usual, like a man who'd memorized a speech and then realized that nothing rehearsed could survive the reality of a mother's stare. And when he finally spoke, he used words that sent a shock through everyone who later heard about them. For the sake of the baby, let's find our way back to peace. It wasn't a line from a script. It was the plea of a man who knew that time, pride, and bruised feelings were nothing compared to a life that hadn't even taken its first breath yet. Those who caught a glimpse of the moment described it as charged in a way red carpets never are. No flash, no applause, just a collision of hearts trying to protect what mattered most. Alp approached not as the leading man audiences adore, but as someone who understood he was stepping into a conversation where love, fear, and consequence were all seated at the same table. He faced not just Alina's mother, but the determination of a woman who had watched her daughter suffer in silent rooms and decided she would not be gentle with the person responsible for those tears. When the door opened, Alina's mother greeted him without a smile. You could call it restraint, but those close to the family say it was months of worry crystallized into a single expression. She had seen Alina hold herself together in front of stylists and story editors, only to crumble later when no one was there to tell her how brave she looked. That was the woman Alp came to convince. Not to forgive him easily, not to pretend the past hadn't happened, but to consider a path that put an unborn child first. Alp didn't try to smooth over the past with clever phrasing. He did not deny what needed to be owned. He didn't even reach for charm, the quality that seems to precede him everywhere else. Instead, he talked about the baby, about the pulse that existed between two people even when their words had run out. He said there had to be something beyond pride, beyond the jagged edges of the last months, beyond the distances they'd created to protect their own wounds. He asked for a future where chaos didn't raise their child, where spite wasn't the third parent in the room. For minutes that breathed like hours, Alina's mother listened without interruption. Friends say her silences carry the weight of entire monologues. It's the kind of quiet that makes other people panic. But she let him speak. And when Alp's voice shook, when the actor fell away and the man stood there with just his fear, his remorse, and the impossible softness of hope, she didn't cut him short. The room was thick with a truth that didn't care about tabloids or timelines, the responsibility of shaping a life together even if the love between them had become something complicated and fragile. Only after he finished did Alina's mother answer. She reminded him of the nights her daughter stared at a ceiling that refused to blink back, how her hands trembled when the phone lit up with a name that left her hopeful and empty all at once. The unanswered calls. The arguments that started softly and ended like slammed doors. The afternoons when she wore sunglasses indoors because mascara tells the truth too quickly. And then, in a voice with both steel and prayer in it, she acknowledged what he was asking. Not a fairy tale. Not a sweeping reunion that erases everything. Just a ceasefire for a heart that hadn't yet learned its first word. But truces don't sign themselves. Alina's mother said the only way forward would be one step at a time, with accountability that doesn't flinch and patience that doesn't keep score. Reconciliation is not a ribbon cutting. It is a choice you get up and make every morning, knowing there will be days when the old arguments try to crawl back into your bed. Alp's words sounded tender, yes, but they were heavy too, weighty with duty as much as desire. He admitted he had to become a different man than the one who'd built walls with silence and defended himself with distance. He said he was ready to unlearn those defenses, even if it meant sitting with the parts of himself that he'd never let the world see. When he left the meeting, nothing looked the same. Alina's mother didn't embrace him or offer the false comfort of quick decisions. She asked for time. She asked for quiet. She asked for space, not because she wanted to create more distance, but because clarity needs room to breathe. Alp walked out into the evening with a posture that looked like someone carrying more than just his own fate. He had said what he came to say, and at that point, the outcome no longer belonged to him. Meanwhile, Alina was somewhere between strength and unraveling. For her, the concept of reconciliation does not sound like poetry. It's dense. It's a labyrinth of what-ifs, and nothing about it is light. Those around her describe a woman navigating one of the most delicate chapters of her life, balancing a pregnancy, the relentless hum of public scrutiny, and the aftershocks of a love that has given as much as it has taken. She has learned to hold herself steady when microphones appear and to fall apart only in rooms where the ceiling fan is the only witness. She is grieving what was while guarding what could be, a complicated dance that even the bravest don't perform without missteps. In the days following the meeting, Alp lowered his profile. No strategically leaked selfie, no last-minute magazine cover, no cryptic captions designed to pour gasoline on speculation. He sidestepped interviews. He skipped events that once felt like oxygen. He told friends that his goal was simple and impossible at once. Not to lose the chance to be a family before his child even arrived. He spoke of change the way people speak about difficult recoveries, slow, painstaking, and real only if it's lived, not announced. He said he would apologize without trying to fast forward to forgiveness and rebuild without pretending the foundation hadn't cracked. The public, as always, split into camps. Some people called his plea noble, the first honest step of a man ready to shoulder fatherhood without letting his ego set the terms. Others saw it as pressure dressed up as romance, a way of nudging Alina in a direction she might not choose if she weren't carrying a life inside her. Social feeds turned into battlegrounds, with strangers interpreting sighs in photos and inventing stories out of glances. But the truth, the complicated, stubborn, human truth, wasn't happening on anyone's timeline. It was living in the quiet of three hearts, a woman preparing to become a mother, a man learning how to stand still in the mirror, and a mother who'd decided she would be her daughter's shield until the last page turned. By now, that one sentence, "Let's make peace for the baby," has become the center of gravity for everything orbiting this story. It is not a magic key. It's a question that demands other, harder questions. What are we willing to forgive? What are we unable to forget? How do we build something new without pretending the old house didn't once burn? This isn't one of those stories that wraps itself in a bow by the closing credits. This is a path where every choice leaves footprints that a child might someday follow, and everyone knows it. Friends say Alina's mood shifted in the days after the meeting. Not a collapse, not a dramatic outburst, just the kind of change that happens when the air around you gets heavier. Her gaze was a little farther away than usual, like she was watching a horizon only she could see. Silence stretched between sentences. She moved through her schedule with care, pausing more often, as if her body remembered what her mind was still deciding. When she finally learned precisely what Alp had said to her mother, she didn't weep, and she didn't fight. She let the words settle, and the room inhaled with her. Hope and fear became two hands gripping the same rope. Those closest to her say she hears that plea in echo. Some days it sounds like possibility, a future where their child grows up without learning bitterness as a first language. Other days it sounds like a risk, a return to a dynamic that once broke her in places makeup and wardrobe can't disguise. In quiet moments, she fingers the edges of the past the way one touches a scar, not to reopen it but to remember why it healed the way it did. There is a bond that still aches, a tether that tugs even when logic warns her to stay still. We've been told that Alina's mother keeps a gentle perimeter around her daughter now. Not a prison, just a buffer, the space a heart needs to hear itself clearly. There are no locked doors, no ultimatums, only a watchful patience. She encourages Alina to decide for herself, to name what safety looks like, to define what home means for a child who has yet to see daylight. She does not speak for Alina, but she makes sure no one else does either. As for Alp, people close to him admit he's different. He is quieter in rooms where he used to command attention. He lingers over sentences, searching for words that don't feel like shortcuts. There is an admission in the way he carries himself, that apologies are only the envelope, and change is the letter inside. He knows that every promise is now a test he will have to pass in daily details no camera will ever capture. Arriving on time, listening without turning defensive, leaving space for emotions that are not his own. Around them, Istanbul hums as it always does. Coffee shops fill with chatter, sets break for lunch, taxis argue with traffic lights. Yet somewhere behind shaded windows, two people we've watched fall in and out of sync are deciding whether they can meet in the middle for someone who will someday call them by names they aren't ready to hear yet. For the baby is not a phrase. It is a world they must find a way to hold without crushing it. And here is the part that stings: there may not be a perfect ending. Perhaps that's why this story has captured so many hearts. No one is promised the smoothness of happily ever after. What they are promised is the chance to choose carefully, to be brave in small, unglamorous ways, and to accept that love that lasts is often less about fireworks than it is about steady light. So where does that leave us? With a question that only Alina and Alp can answer, with a mother who has earned the right to ask for caution, and with a child who has already reshaped timelines and softened words that once came out as knives. In the meantime, the debates will continue, the theories will multiply, and posts will be analyzed for hidden meaning. But the truth will keep its quiet place, unfolding in private rooms where the stakes are real and the lighting is unflattering. Thank you for watching through to the end and for trusting Turkish Spotlight Secrets to handle this with care. If you want updates as this story finds its next chapter, stay with me here. Subscribe, share, and keep your notifications on. I'll bring you every step that becomes clear, every decision that turns into action, and every moment when hope and fear learn to stand side by side without collapsing. Until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.